Good morning, Vietnam, and here I am back again doing my latest video, and this is about Korean dramas and movies, and I'm going to talk quite extensively about what I think are the best dramas and movies that I have seen in the last 12 years. But as it turns out, the favorite ones, and what I consider more or less the best ones, actually were the ones I saw originally back in 2012 that I had to spend a year waiting to sell my house in Los Angeles and move to somewhere outside of the Western world, and I ended up choosing Vietnam. But in my long preamble, next I talk about many of the great Western movies that I recall seeing between 1965 and 1985, and they were great. But Korean movies are different, and dramas, and in fact there's rarely, especially a drama, that you don't tear up somewhere in this drama. And it puts Steven Spielberg to shame. How much and how easy it is and complicated it is in Korean dramas, but they always, somewhere within them, they always make you cry. And I have cried a lot in these dramas because I've seen, I would say, close to 60 dramas and probably at least 30 movies in the last 12 years. But one thing I did recall that I didn't mention, maybe my most bad English, one of my favorite movies is Blade Runner. And I've watched it many times, and other than some of the quirks of Harrison Ford's in his acting, it is in the top 5 movies for me. I did not mention also the Alien series, because when they were advertising the first one, I recall the alien, the monster, in the poster, and it scared the shit out of me, and I didn't watch it and the series for, I don't know, a couple of years, and then I watched them and I thought they were really, really good. So here we go. My notes will come up next, and I will discuss all the dramas. Now, you'll see that my favorite period is around 2012. Many fantastic dramas and movies, but there's also, since 2015, 2018, there's also been quite a few, and they actually, in terms of quality overall, they're much, much better. Better production, fantastic acting, great scripts. But I discuss why I think around 2012 is my favorite period. Thanks, and see you in a few seconds. So here are my notes. There are actually quite a few pages, I believe 6. But I may not discuss the last 2 pages, which I talk about American actors. But as I state here in the beginning, I've watched over 30 Korean dramas in 2012 and many, many movies. And it was quite a revelation, as it was an amazing cinematic experience. Since my early days watching the great movies from around 65 to 1985, and since then I actually haven't watched that many Western movies, only those really on Netflix. And the West keeps making the same types of movies and dramas that are mostly formulaic, and you can predict almost from scene to scene what's going to happen, and the dialogue, there are really no surprises. Western movies back in the 60s, 70s and early 80s were unbelievably good. From England, Clockwork Orange, The Ruling Class, Lawrence of Arabia, The Obscure Object of Desire, French, Le Grand Bouffe, and one of the great love stories of all time, A Man and a Woman. Who can forget the music from that? From Spain, The Discreet Charm of the Bourgeoisie, or from Italy, anything from Fellini, or from Sweden, anything from Ingmar Bergman. In America, such great movies, Bonnie and Clyde, In the Heat of the Night, The Graduate, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and one of the greatest westerns ever made, The Wild Bunch. In Japan, anything from Kurosawa and Kobayashi. And of course from England, 2001, A Space Odyssey. I mean, there are so many great movies in that period. And so many of them I can remember a scene or even some dialogue from them because they were so good and there was something in them always that left a mark in you that you could remember them. It's like I can remember almost every car I've owned because I bought them for a reason and I enjoyed them for a short time, a long time, but also the food you eat. It really defines you, the type of food you eat daily, or even the great experiences of dining out in some of the great restaurants I've eaten around the world. But movies seem to stay with me longer. I don't know why, it's just some psychological impact. And I find myself remembering, as I said, quoting lines from many of these movies. So in 2012, while I had to wait a whole year to sell my house, back in 2012, I watched and discovered, through a friend of mine, Korean dramas and movies. And for the most part, Korean cinema would still be almost undiscovered unless it was for movies like Parasite and the drama The Squid Game. I haven't seen The Parasite because it's not readily available without paying for it or me joining another internet site like Hulu or Disney or Apple. So, in terms of entertainment, South Korea really became, or put on the map by the song Gangnam Style. And of course what followed was so many boys and girls bands that have become international stars. But on a negative note, also, there were so many suicides from these pop stars and actors. But if you're a cinephile, as a couple of my friends were, they introduced me to The Vengeance trilogy by Park Chan-wook from 2002 to 2005. And I can't spell vengeance. I put an N in there. But in 2012, I used to sit, especially in the afternoons, and watch the dramas that were available, which I used to download on different websites and work out how to download them, and some of them I couldn't download the translations in English, so I had to learn how to do that as well. But I became quite good at it. Today I couldn't do it again. So I don't know why. I guess I wanted and needed to watch some of these dramas. One thing is amazing about Korean dramas and movies was the unbelievable amount of actors they can choose from to play any of the characters, let alone the leads, in these dramas and movies perfectly. And of course, the music, especially the theme music, they really, really work hard to write or use existing music to have the correct emotional response to what's happening on the screen. Not like in Western movies especially, where it becomes so dramatic, the music, and so loud that it drives you a little crazy. But as I write here, nobody does eye contact like the Koreans. So many, many dramas and movies, the eye contact between actors feels so real that you think it's real life, and that it becomes so emotional that it feels better than real life. And I mentioned it a few times below in some of the dramas I consider to be exceptional. So this is what I think is the main difference between Korean and Western shows. They focus much more on the emotional impact of what is happening on the screen than use especially facial expressions and mostly eyes to convey what is happening in that scene. The Western shows focus much more on the physical body actions and the props around them to convey what's happening in that scene, rather than using the facial expressions. One of the other major difference, the second major difference rather, is that there is invariably a major twist in the story, and I will mention some of them later in most Korean dramas and movies, that is always surprising. Like in one of them, the two of the lead actors are actually twins, were separated when they were around 8-10 years old. And you don't know this until well into the drama. Thirdly, what I guess around 20% or so, the protagonist or someone very close to them dies, especially towards the end of the drama or right at the end of it. Either dies or gets killed. Fourthly, the camera work and action stunts, the choreography is second to none. And it is just amazing to watch the choreography, especially in the action movies, of course, how great it is. Now, some of the things I don't like is the translations. And I actually wrote to quite a few of the production companies in Korea, wrote emails to them, telling them what some of the problems are with their translation, and I would have loved to work with them, but I got zero response. Now, a word like in Korean, oppa, can actually have like 5 meanings. Like, for example, it can mean brother, best friend, someone you like, someone you work with, someone sometimes more senior than you, but closer in age. And now they've all adopted just using, when someone uses the word opera in Korean, they just write the person's name in translation because they don't want to work at a better word to translate it in a particular scene. So the other thing, which is really bad, is occasionally the dramas and movies go and do productions overseas. And the production is generally terrible. And also the foreign actors are terrible actors. And many of the actors are English speaking, but for some reason they don't speak normal English. They seem to have trouble speaking English, even though they sound like they are English speaking people. Horrible English accents. Why have I watched so many of these? let me correct myself. I've watched some of these dramas and movies 3 to 4 times, and because the new ones coming out and many of the old ones are just not very good. So I find myself rewatching them because they are so good and so exciting to watch. And watching the lead actors perform and some of the supporting cast are just fantastic. As I was saying, I got a little tongue-tied. Many of these, or all of these dramas I'm going to talk about that I watched in 2012, the 9 dramas I'm going to talk about more extensively, and then follow up with some quick discussion on many more, but not detailed like I'm doing for these 9s that was my introduction really to Korean dramas and movies. The lead actors and many of the supporting actors became huge stars, almost all of them, and made dramas and movies consistently up to today. That's how good these guys were. And there's been a handful of very good actors since then, from the after 2015, 2017-18, there's a handful also of very good actors that have been making, again, excellent dramas and movies after that period. But these are my favourites, even though I've seen many of dramas and movies all the way up to today. These 9 are my favourites. There are some which I will mention I really liked, and I've watched them more than once because I think they're so great, and there's not much or good new dramas and movies coming out. There is a handful which I will mention. Anyway, and I list these in the order which I think are what I consider to be the best, and the 9th one is my choice for number 9, is one of the most famous dramas of all time in Korea called Boys Over Flowers, made in 2009. And it's very good, and that's why it's number 9, because it's not, I don't consider it great at all. It is fun, it's entertainment, it's like a boys band, famous boys band, but a drama. And where I think failed and could have been much better, and occasionally the dialogue is not as good as it could have been, is the lead actress is not that attractive and quite short, because the lead actor, Lee Min-ho, is quite tall. And the other 3 boys, that's why it's Boys Over Flowers, are also extremely attractive. I mean, really handsome guys. The similar story came out about 6-8 years later, is Cinderella and the Four Knights, which I just saw some of it the other day again. The female choice was much better. She was stronger, taller, and much more attractive, and it worked much better. But the Koreans love this. It's one of the top 10 dramas of all time, I believe. And so many of the love story dramas depict a lower class female, not so attractive a lot of the time. A poor girl gets and wins over the showbill heir. If you don't know, a showbill is a conglomerate, very large, big company. This is a very common theme in so many of these drama. I've seen quite a few of them, and I thought the ones between the late, after 2005 to 2012, 2013, there was quite a few good ones, and I quite enjoyed them. The newer ones, they're just not as good. Anyway, the lead actor is Lee Min-ho, and you may know him. He just did an Apple TV Plus series called Pachinko, and he is a real star, has made many very good dramas, and one of my top picks is, a little later, is called City Hunter, which made him more famous than his role in Boys Over Flowers. In Pachinko, he is very, very good, but I thought his character was way too stiff, and I think he's much more fun to watch when there's some comedy in the dialogue and in the script. Number 8. Now again, all these are very famous dramas. Number 8 is called Iris, also 2009, and it's also known as Alisu. If you can't find it, then look up Alisu. The lead actor is Lee Bin-hun. I think he's probably the most famous Korean actor, recognizable in the West. And in 2000, I forget now what year, 2012, 2015, he made Red 2 with the great actor, of course, Bruce Willis, but he was the star in all these scenes. He was so good in it. And also he's in another drama below called I Saw the Devil, and I will discuss him in more detail there. The lead actress in this was Kim Tae-hee, and she's still a star, as I said a little while ago, that especially the lead actors and many of the supporting actors are still doing great work today and have done great work all through the last 10, 14 years. As I said, there were many good actors in this, but Kim Tae-hee really hasn't done a lot of work, especially since 2015's Young Pal. This is one of the movies which has an unbelievable ending, quite shocking, and I don't want to spoil it for you. I hope you watch it, and this is why I think Korean dramas far surpassed American Western movies since 2015, especially 2015. The next movie, my favorite, is a drama called Midas. It wasn't that well received in 2011, but I think it's one of the great stories. The lead actor was a guy called Yang Hook, and his other good movies were Voice. He was also in Iris in a secondary role, and Old Goodbye. The lead actress, Lee Min-young, happens to be married to Lee Byung-hun. Kim Hae-hee, she's been doing dramas since 2004. Chun Ho-jin, he's also in City Hunter, I Saw the Devil, and many more since 1990. And a guy called Choi Jung-woo, also in many dramas. So this was full of many, many good actors, and as I mentioned, are still working today. As I said, this is a great, great story. I guess it was a little bit too mundane, not exciting enough, not enough action for the bulk of the Korean viewers. And it's a story of greed and power and how easily you can fall into it, give up what you truly believe, then you can easily be discarded, you can be sent to prison, and then when he finally gets out, he goes after the people who put him there to get revenge legally. And this is the first drama that I watched actually in 2012, but it's the first drama that uses a very large truck to try and kill the protagonist. And this is actually quite common in many of the dramas since then. The next drama is Man from Nowhere. It's mentioned many times in many of the top movies, and on YouTube it's also mentioned as one of the top action dramas in the last 15 years. He was, Won Bin is the lead actor. He was very popular in the 90s and 2000s, but he hasn't done a lot of work since then. His other famous role is called Mother, which was done the year before. But The Man from Nowhere is a fantastic action movie. Almost at the end of the movie, there's a fight scene, first with guns, and when they run out of bullets, he starts to kill all the bad guys in a knife fight, and especially right at the end where he has an amazing knife fight with the other bad guy who is also an expert with knives. This is another also movie that wasn't that well received, but for the guys who know, or the people who know Korean dramas, it is also to me, one of the great dramas, and introduced us to the lead actor. And I didn't write down his name. Can you believe that? But I was surprised he's gone on to make, and I mentioned currently or last year was Song of the Bandits. In 2019, Fiery Priest, and he's quite a comedic actor. Live Up to Your Name in 2017, and he's also quite an action star in many of his roles. For example, in Pirates in 2014. They even made a sequel to The Pirates around 2020, I forget the year, and it's quite good, but it just doesn't have the impact because the lead actor who replaced this guy is very good, but this guy has just got this presence on the screen which is really, really hard to equal. And this is a fantastic story of people being switched at birth, and then everyone thinks they've been switched, but in fact they were never switched. And it gets so confusing, it goes back and forth, and how this guy is going to get his revenge on the family that ditched him. So the other, I mentioned four actors in this great drama as well, and you can see Oh Yun-soo in Doberman. I was surprised. I didn't remember her when I watched Doberman. She's really good. And also Young So Min, which I quite enjoyed, Alchemy of Souls. A period piece, historical period piece. And she's very good. She's great in this as a very young actress. Yeon Guk-hwan, you can see he was in I Saw the Devil, Empress Kai, Crash Landing on You, and also Lee Kyung-young. She's also in everything. Queenmaker, Hyena, Misty, Steel Rain, The Merciless. So you can see from this movie, Bad Guy, which wasn't that well received in Korea, but has spawned so many great actors that are still working today. Number 4, the really big tearjerker in these 9 dramas, Son of a Woman. Again, 2011, as I said, these are all really 2011, 2012. the greatest tearjerker of all time, I think. Even when I think of it, I get a little caught in my throat. This is the only movie or drama I can think of that you can compare it to Cary Grant's and Deborah Kerr's in Affair to Remember, made in 1957. The lead actor has gone on to still make great and many really good dramas, but nothing compared to his performance in Scent of a Woman. So you can see what he's done. The music, especially the theme music in this, is unequaled. It is so uplifting, the movie, but with a lot of sympathy, sadness. It's just fantastic. Highly recommended. The next one is also a famous Korean movie, well known to Korean cinephiles, City Hunter, where Lee Min-ho stars again. As I said, he is in Boys Over Flowers, but really, that drama made him, but City Hunter made him a star. He's perfectly cast here, and he's quite an action star as well in a few of his other roles, especially in what I mentioned here, The King, and Heirs, Legend of the Blue Sea, but nothing compared to City Hunter, really. The King gets close, but he hasn't done anything. Pachinko, I think, is also very good, but he's too stiff in that. Also, Park Min-young was the lead actress in this. She has gone on to make many, many dramas, quite good, but she's quite also very, very good in The Healer in 2014. But nothing, both of these actors haven't done anything as good as City Hunter. And of course, our last two, I mean, you can flip these, 1 and 2 and 3 even, as number 1. I Saw the Devil, Lee Byung-hun. As I said, he's in Iris. But I thought his control performance as an FBI agent, whatever they are called in Korea, I forget, and his tit for tat with Choi Min-suk, the killer murderer, is just so many scenes, just shock you, and shock you, one after the other. It is totally murderous, killer, blood and guts everywhere, and had me on the edge of my seat the whole drama. Even though it's got so much blood and guts in it, I felt like I write here in the new movie Carter that came out last year. Carter's overboard in its violence and its killing, especially in the killing ability of the main actor. This is, even though this is way worse in terms of the depravity of the script and what happens in the movie, I won't say any more about it. Highly, if you don't mind watching some blood and guts, this is the greatest blood and guts story of all time. So the bad guy, Choi Min-suk, is still making great, great movies. And in fact, he was in Old Boy in 2003, and this is 2010. And in 2014, he did Lucy as he was the bad guy in that, Korean bad guy in that, with Scarlett Johansson. So he's in I Saw the Devil and Old Boy, two, for me, in my top 20 movies of all time. And number 1, as I said, you could shift these between 1 to 5, 1 to 6 as far as I'm concerned. But this gets me more. It's just some emotional connection I have with the story. Maybe it's the reverse of the poor girl falling in love with the rich guy. This time around, it's the rich guy falling in love with the poor girl. So maybe that's why I love it so much. Even though there's some fantasy realism in it, not a lot, very little, and it adds to the charm of the story. Did it really need it? I don't think so, but I guess in 2010 I wanted to be a little different, a different type of love story with something else happening. But the drama and the script and the acting with everyone involved is so unbelievable. It is great upon great upon great. And in fact, there's 3 love stories within the movie. You have the main love story, you have the secondary one with the lead actor's cousin, also in a back and forth relationship with his girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, getting back together. And then also the minor third love story between the main actress's roommate and the lead actor's personal assistant. Now what's amazing is the lead actor's personal assistant is also in Man from Nowhere. So that was 2010. So he made them both in the same year. And he has he's not the lead actor by any means, and not the lead bad guy. He's the lead bad guy's brother. But the different acting and the characters, they're so different. It shocked me to realize that he was the same guy, and I had to go back and check. He is really, really great. He's very good in this, but he's great in Man from Nowhere. I know I keep getting blocked on it. He's great in The Man from Nowhere as a bad guy. And of course, the lead actor, amazing. I didn't write his name down. What an idiot I am sometimes. He's done many, many good dramas. I still don't think as good as his emotional connection to this particular drama. Another really good futuristic movie that he did is called Memories of Alhambra. Quite enjoyed it. And he's actually in a movie, a more current drama, Crash Landing on You in 2019. His name is Juan Bin. I mean, you can't get more famous, one of the more famous male actors than Juan Bin. So, and of course, I mentioned these dramas, which I found out after 2012. I can't remember when someone told me about Park Chan-wook's Vengeance trilogy, and I rewatched Lady Vengeance a few months ago, and it's fantastic. He's in the top 5 greatest Korean directors easily. Those 3 Vengeance movies are just absolutely fantastic. So I only mentioned one very long drama. Most of the dramas are 16 episodes. They are now doing shorter ones. Occasionally they get to 18 or 20, the newer ones, but mainly they stick to 16, but now they're doing a lot more, 8 and 10 and even some 12 episodes. I watched this because the actress is the same lead actress as in Secret Garden, and she's a very good actress and is great in this. 51 episodes. But it's a great period piece, historical. The Empress Kai, there's actually more than one dramas made about her. But as I said, I watched this because of the lead actress. So now we get on to the movies around that period, and what I saw was not that many that I really, really liked, but here is a handful. The earliest one was made in 2008 called The Chaser. It's a great movie, and the lead actor, Kim Yoon-suk, is also very, very good, and it's quite a nasty, bloody, violent movie, and it's one of the first movies I saw, Korean movies that I saw. I really loved it. And then we have movies in 2012-13. The Thieves is also another excellent movie. Great storyline, unbelievable. So many great actors in this, especially the two female leads. And both of them are still working today and doing great work. And there's a fight scene between the bad guys and the lead actor on the outside of an apartment building, swinging on cables, like telephone cables and cable TV cables, swinging around, shooting at each other. And it's just, the choreography and the way they shot it is just incomparable. It's fantastic. 3 other movies. One's called Commitment. It's, again, excellent in every way. There's almost no bad lines in it. I think there's maybe one I didn't really like, but otherwise, again, the story's fantastic. Has to do with North and South Korea again. As I've mentioned, there are many movies that combine the two countries, and normally in a negative way. And this is one of those cases as well. So they recruited a young boy and trained him to be an intelligence gatherer, but also an assassin. And he goes to South Korea. He's quite young, around 1920, and he wants to save his sister from the North Koreans, and hopefully make their life better if he ever returns. And it is a great story, so well made. The Berlin File. This is also unbelievably good. It's one of the best Korean movies I've seen, in the top 10. And again, many great actors in it. And the female lead is also in The Thieves as one of the main female actors. And again, she's still making movies, and so good. And the story in this is excellent. It has to do with spies in Berlin. That's why it's called the Berlin File. And also the ending is just really, really good. Surprising, and you'll enjoy it immensely. So now we get in more current movies and dramas. There are many excellent dramas and movies over the last 5 to 7 years, and I don't think they're quite as good as the ones I've all just mentioned, but some of them are very, very close and 100% worth looking at, viewing, and see if you like them. And also I will mention that the Korean drama and movies, they love the historical, the supernatural, and zombie movies. The historical period pieces in the last 500 to 1,000 years of Korean history. And also within that, they also do supernatural movies, stories rather. And of course, they love their zombies. I'm just not a fan of zombie movies, so there have been some excellent ones like the Train to Busan, has been highly regarded. So getting on to dramas, I'm listing my favourites, but then after these I also list about 10, 12 that are also excellent, all well worth watching. Many of these I've watched 2 times and occasionally 3 times. Taxi Driver, they're doing the sequel at the moment and should be out very soon. It's got one of the newer great actors. When I say that, I mean his first movie, the first 2 dramas he did were in 2016, and they're both quite good, especially Phantom Detective, which I mentioned below. Lee Joo-hoon, he's should be making a few more excellent dramas. Vincenzo, one of my 2 favourites, with Stranger, I'll mention below, and the lead actor, Sing Joong-ki, is fantastic in this and has made quite a few very, very good dramas over the last 10, 12 years. And I mentioned another one below. The lead actress, Zhao Yunbin, is fantastic in this also, and she's also in Night in Paradise, which I mentioned below. Totally different character. My Name in 2021, great drama and script. The only problem I have is that I think the lead actress is just a little bit too small to be doing such aggressive fighting and to be able to beat up so many guys. I believe it's 8 or 10 episodes. More and more dramas in Korea are getting less. The average length is normally 16. But now they're doing a lot of 8 and 10 and 12 episode dramas. The King is so-so, but the lead actor again is from City Hunter, and he's just did that series in Apple TV called Pachinko. He is great, but I think the best work he did was City Hunter. But also it's about parallel universes. But the one done, the series done called Star Trek Discovery, I think is a much better show on parallel universes, and it's very, very good. Stranger is probably in the top 3 favourite newer dramas. The lead actor, Cho Seung-woo, is fantastic. Exceptional performance, great acting, all the supporting cast. There's very, very few lines that are not very good in this. And it's there's 2 parts to it, and both are excellent because the stories are so great and the acting is fantastic. But I've seen him in a couple of other dramas, and he is good to very good, but nothing to the extent of Stranger, because it just suits him to the T, and he can't seem to find another script where he can really show his great talents. Awaken, also unbelievably good, even though it's a little bit too science fiction, with altering your body DNA to give you superhuman powers. But the emotional content of this drama is exceptional between many of the actors, and I highly recommend it as well. The ones I highly recommend are 100% worth watching. The others are very, very good, but if you don't get to see them, I don't think you'll miss out much. And I think the Min Nam-kun is the guy. He's done about 6 excellent dramas. I've watched probably all of them, and he plays a different character in every one of them, and I think he's my favourite actor over the whole period of watching Korean dramas, even though I think the best performance is by Cho Seung-woo in Stranger. Min Nam-kun definitely takes the cake because of his excellent performance over so many dramas. Itaewon Class is also a little bit famous internationally, and the lead actor, Park Seo-joon, has made many good dramas. He got great support from many of the actors, and the bad guy in this, actually, he's done some good guy dramas as well. Doberman, Descendants of the Sun, and My Name, which I mentioned above. And it's a strange script because the good guy, the handsome guy, gets the not so attractive girl, and I'm not sure it really works out that way. And they meandered on the relationship between the good-looking girl and the lead actor for way, way too long. Crash Landing on You, also a little famous internationally, with Won Bin again, and also his future wife, Son Ye-jin. So I don't know actually when they got married, I didn't look it up, but it is a lot of fun. And also the relationship between North and South Korea comes into it extensively in this one, as he is a North Korean soldier. Phantom Detective, 2016, is excellent. It is Korean film noir at its best. Lee Jun-hoon in Taxi Driver, above. Excellent. Misaying, Incomplete Life in 2014, is fantastic. Office life and politics depicted at its best. And I really, really enjoyed this. It's a very simple story. Life in a big company, working in a big company. It's really, really good. And the young boy in this, he also, 3-4 years later, he was the lead actor in Merciless, which is, I mentioned below, is absolutely fantastic. The story, the script, the acting, and especially the ending. And of course, the Koreans not only love their police dramas like the West, but also love their doctor dramas, same as the West. So I just mentioned 3 here. They're all great. I really like them. Dr. Stranger, 2014. Dr. Prisoner, again. The lead actor from Awaken Above. As I said, he's made about 5 or 6 excellent dramas, all worth watching him perform, and his character is different in every one. Dr. Romantic, it's 2 series, both excellent. There's a handful in the first one, and they stay, of course, in the second one, and then they have different supporting actors for the second one, and it's really, really great. Really enjoyed it. I've watched it a couple of times, both of them a couple of times. Not so great dramas, but still excellent. Well worth watching. As I've said, I spend my evenings doing watching Korean dramas and movies most of the time, and during the day I research my videos to do on YouTube. Hyena, great relationship between the 2 characters. You can read my comments. Here's 2 here, Our Beloved Summer and Record of Youth. I mention these 2 because I really, really enjoyed them because of the unbelievable, fantastic dialogue between the 2 main actors in both of these. And their repartee is unbelievably good. Really, really enjoyed it. It's extremely well written, both of them. And all the actors in both of them. Fantastic. Glory, they're doing the sequel now. It should be out very soon. Really, really enjoyed it. That's why I mentioned it, of course. And it's the worst or the most horrific of all the bullying stories, movies and dramas I've seen. It seems like bullying is quite endemic in high schools, especially in South Korea. And this is probably the most horrific and ugly one of them that I have seen. So she sets out on a 10-year plan to get revenge. So here is a list of other dramas I think are excellent and definitely worth watching. DP, about, you can look them up, otherwise the video is going to take too long. These are all excellent. Vagabond definitely needed a sequel, but they didn't do it. Juvenile Court, the lead actress is in a couple of the movies above, dramas above that I mentioned. Bad and Crazy, the guy from, he's done a lot of good dramas, and he is in one of my top 9 picks back in 2011, and I can't think of the name off my head. He's great. A newer actress, Extraordinary Attorney Woo. One not well known, Bugasal, but I quite enjoyed this the story. Supernatural, historical. It's quite good. I find Inspector Coup was very, very entertaining. Kingdom 1 and 2, really enjoyed them. Period historical piece about the wars in early the Joseon period. And, of course, a fun movie, The Legend of the Sea. Current movies. I'm listing here. I wrote, it is easy to tell which are going to be great or very good. The ones that are not have melodramatic music playing in the trailers immediately. I would keep away from those. And others have voiceovers in the beginning, in the trailers as well. I find generally those end up being not so great. So these are the movies. All of them unbelievably good, and many of them have fantastic endings, unlike Western dramas and movies that the good guy always wins, the good guy always lives, everything always turns out, you might get a death here and there, but not the Koreans. They go with the flow, they go with what they think is more likely to happen in real life. And this is why I love Korean dramas and movies. All these are fantastic, and highly recommend all of them. I've watched them all more than once. Actually, Memoir of a Murderer I've only seen once, and Merciless once. I've watched Night in Paradise a couple of times because she, the lead actress there from Vincenzo, is so different from Vincenzo, and I quite enjoyed her performance. Space Sweepers, really entertaining, sci-fi, great acting. All the lead actors on the spaceship are really, really, really good. And of course, these three, all of them came out last year, with the original Believer 1 in 2018. And as I write here, I could write pages on just these 4 movies. They are fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Great scripts, great acting, surprises during it, where they found all the characters and actors for all 3 or 4 of these movies. It's just amazing to me. They keep coming up with these actors that you wouldn't even think they were actors just from the way they look, their body types, but their performances are superb. So that's it for the Koreans and why I love them. And I will put this together and hopefully you enjoyed my presentation of why I love Korean dramas and movies, and I will insert a few scenes from two of the dramas that I love. Thanks again, until the next one. Hi again, I'm back at the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed my explanations and the choices I've made. I really cannot tell you how great, unless you watch more and more, how great Korean cinema is. And I hope you take some of my choices to heart, especially the ones I saw between 2009 and 2013, and the movies, if you can still see them. Most of the movies are still on Netflix, but not all the dramas. A couple of them still are. I think the movie, The Berlin File, is still available, and highly recommend all the dramas and movies that I have selected for this video. Thanks so much, and see you in the next one.